you so much for joining me on the Creative Awakening Now podcast. I'm your host, David Matters, and I'm here to bring you stories, interviews, and insights relating to the topics of creativity, inspiration, and practice. My intention is to connect with other people who employ a heart-centered approach to the artistic process and to share this profoundly inspiring content with anyone who cares to hear it. I hope you enjoy. This is a dream, and a dream is never the same. My guest this week was John Handelman. John is an effective and dynamic life coach who teaches, inspires, and connects with people around the world through an unmatched presence, effective techniques and methods for peak performance, and a genuinely fierce commitment to helping people realize and fully live their true potential. Passionate at heart with a strong determination to understand how people can be their happiest and healthiest, John has traveled and coached people all over the world, and his enthusiasm for learning, sharing, and growing has taken on many adventurous forms, from bicycle, caravan, circuses, to traveling peace theaters. He is committed to bringing out the best in as many people, no matter what their circumstances or condition. He teaches classes and workshops on empowerment, goal setting, forgiveness, compassion, and trauma at various festivals and gatherings around the world. He has trained school teachers on how to build more meaningful connections with their students and facilitates a weekly men's group called Men's Lives. John has a business degree from Concordia University and has studied coaching for transformation, nonviolent communication, and Robbins-Medinez training, among many other disciplines. He also co-created Awakening Harmony, a musical connection retreat that promotes emotional empowerment and vulnerability. He was the director of Montreal's largest children's day camp for 6 years and was a team-building coach for high-performance athletes for 5 years. John has been practicing various types of coaching and counseling for more than 10 years and enjoys yoga, authentic relating, music, acrobatics, gardening, and woodworking. Yeah, and this interview was really great. I went over to John's house and just sat on the floor with a bunch of instruments around us and just got into a good chat about his life and his path and just all the connections that he's made and all the outreach kind of stuff he's done with other people and helping others along the way, and a lot of it being grounded in creativity. And that's what really intrigued me about his work and everything with Awakening Harmony. It just sounded really, really beautiful, and it was so close to what I'm doing with my whole podcast and my writing and everything, just trying to connect with people on a deeper level and using creativity as kind of that medium. So yeah, it was a really great interview. We had a good time. Played some songs. I got to actually play a little bit with him and sing, and yeah, it was fun. It was just kind of really lighthearted and playful, and John's a super easy guy to chill with. So I know you guys are going to like this interview. I hope you will check out everything that he's got going on. I'll have the links up in the show notes to his work and the retreats that they do for Awakening Harmony. They have one coming up here in February, I believe. He talks about it on the show. So yeah, check that out. Also, hope you'll check out everything I have going on at creativeawakeningnow.com. Check out my published writings. Check out my blog, my music with my band Life Like Water, all that good stuff. If you want to help the podcast, please leave a rating or review. That kind of stuff always helps immensely. Or share it, or subscribe, anything like that. I'd be really grateful. So I'm going to stop talking now. Let you guys just listen. So much love. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And thank you, John, for having me over to your lovely house and agreeing to do this interview with me today.
I'm very grateful you're here. I'm looking forward to talking with you.
Awesome. Well, I think we could just maybe start from the beginning and just kind of get down to the roots of even before your current work. You know, like what is it that really inspires you and the things that move you towards a creative life, and how has that kind of shaped your current work and where that's going?
Yeah. Well, I think what inspires me most is when people come together and act from their heart towards any creative endeavor. So sometimes that's playing a game together, or playing a sport, or making a song, or building a house, or whatever it looks like. But I always noticed what really got me going was the creative potential of people getting together. and I always looked for it when I was young. I looked for a way to like join forces with other folks in whatever. I didn't even care. And I used to play a lot of sports, and I was part of a lot of bands, and I'd make a lot of comic books with other people, and drawings, and murals, and projects, and sculptures, and plays, and theaters, and all this type of stuff. And yeah, at one point I ran a big kids camp. It was the biggest kids camp in Montreal, in Canada, where I'm from. And I was really inspired to see what groups of people could do together. And I think why that is I felt really lonely as a kid. I grew up in a typical suburb, and had very nice parents. And my suburb was actually pretty friendly. I knew all the kids on the block. And I still felt really, really lonely. And I kind of thought, oh, I'm just maybe kind of broken or something like this. I guess, you know, I guess everyone is fine, and this is how people should be, and we should all live in our like little boxes away from each other. And it was only later on when I started. I finished university, and I graduated in marketing. And I remember my last class, I had a really cool teacher, Mr. Soroka, who, if you're listening to this, hey, Mr. Soroka, I think you're a great guy. And I said, hey, can we go out for a drink together? I'd like to talk to you. I'm torn about something. And he said, sure. And he went out and said, what's going on? I said, I just got this degree in marketing. Is all I'm going to do like lie to people and tell them to get stuff that they don't need and find creative ways to do that? He said, yeah, that's marketing. I said, I don't want to do that. He said, oh, I know you don't want to do that. That's very obvious from your presence in the class. You don't want to do that. I said, well, wow, what do I do? He goes, I don't know. I didn't want to do it either. That's why I became a teacher. I said, man, what do you think I should do? He goes, I don't know, but not that. And I was really confused at that point in my life. And my dad had hitchhiked all over Europe. And it was something I wanted to do, and I thought, okay, I finished university. I'm from Canada, so I didn't have school debt. I think school cost me a total of $7,000 Canadian, which is like 4,000 American dollars. So over 3 years. So it's not a lot of money. And so I was debt free, and I put my thumb out on the road and just started hiking across Canada, and I noticed that the biggest feeling of meaning to me, the biggest fulfillment, was connecting deeply with random strangers who were picking me up. It was unbelievable. Someone would pick me up, and I just thought, oh, I can ask this person anything. And I really did. I tried to ask the most the most bold and almost invasive questions I could. And I was really learning, because some people were like, whoa, that's a little too personally. But actually, for the most part, most people are really happy to talk about what was really going on for them. They're happy to talk about their pain, their sorrow, their joy, and really personal things. And they're kind of treating me like people treat their hairdressers, maybe. Like, you could tell your hairdresser anything. And I felt like a therapist. It was unbelievable. And consistently, these people would invite me into their homes and feed me. And it happened night after night after night. And then they would thank me. They would thank me for their experience. And at first I went, whoa, I should thank you. You're giving me a lift, you're feeding me and all this. And then I realized I was giving them a really, really valuable gift. And it's valuable only because it's so rare in our society. And that gift is presence, genuine presence and curiosity. And so, in our society, a typical question is, how you doing? It's not how you feeling, or what are you experiencing right now? It's what are you doing with your body, and how you attending to your mind. What do you do for a living? Actually, you do a lot of things for a living. You eat, you breathe, and you attend to your passions, and you attend to yourself, and you sleep. But what they mean is, how do you make money? And I at that time, I was in this luxurious position. And I say luxurious because I'm aware that it's because of the privilege of being from Canada that I didn't really have to think about paying back school debts, that I was able to just hitchhike and go across. That I was able to find out what was alive in people, and conversely, what was alive in myself. And that started forming the picture of I guess my model of the world, which is like we're we're like a profoundly beautiful species. We're really an interesting combination of things. I read this book called The Language of Emotions by Carla McLaren. I highly recommend this book. But in it, she says, "Hey, you're kind of four things. You're your intellect, you're your body, you're your emotions, and your spirit self, your visionary self. That's the part that dreams and takes your visions and makes them into reality. And then there's a fifth intelligence that manages all those intelligences." And I think our school system kind of just teaches us we're a bunch of like brains. And they're like, educate yourself, brain. Sit down all day, don't move, and just brain it up. And we cut off access to all these other beautiful parts of us. And when I started getting in touch with those other parts, I found they were just as deep as the intellect. And I love them. And then I'd see that they were engaged in other people. So maybe I'd engage someone else's body, or I engage someone else's emotions, or visionary self, and those were actually totally still there, and they just hadn't been engaged. So I think our current system does its best to like numb them. So emotions with usually pills, bodies with inactivity, and visionary self with this idea of like reality and get a job kind of thing. But actually, those parts are totally like and if they get a little attention, they flower. And in the purest of us, children, purest meaning like less culturally inundated with messages, those features are everywhere. You'll see a child use his bodies, actively express their emotional state from second to second, and have huge dreams if you just encourage it. And there's such nice parts of our humanity. And one of my passions now really is bringing that out in myself. I have a lot of emotional blocks. I have a personal block in crying. It's really challenging for me to feel sad and then bring those tears up through my eyes. But it's exciting for me to go, oh, okay, it's okay to bring those tears up. And it's exciting for me to bring them out in other people and help facilitate that for them in any ways I've learned, from just talking to sharing what's alive for me, to music, to humor, to movement, and all this kind of thing. So I know this was a huge answer to your question. Yeah,
definitely a huge answer, but definitely a beautiful answer.
Cool, thanks.
I'm glad that I always like when people really get into it and don't just tell like the surface level stuff. Like, this is what I did. This is where I went. This is
right. Yeah. That's one of the symptoms of our culture.
Yeah.
They say like, here's what I kind of did instead of this is who I am.
Yeah. Well, and also people are they're self-conscious, or afraid of like saying too much, or coming off as like boastful or something, where it's like, I'm genuinely asking you, so I genuinely appreciate a response like that.
Yeah, I remember being that way.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being terrified. I was terrified of what women thought of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember going up to women? It's scary for a man, eh? To go as just a classically heterosexual kind of guy, to go up to a woman, is shaking. Yeah. And like, it's funny, I look back now and I kind of laugh, because rejection is just part of life.
Yeah.
But I don't know, at that time it seems so hard, and I was thinking about it and why that is, and I just think our society is just really rife with judgment, and we learn it in school.
Definitely.
To go like, hey, meet the certain standard or you fail, and failing is bad. Like failing a test, whoa!
Yeah. Our whole measurement system is based upon the elusive idea of success and how that's put out in the wider culture, what we call success anyway. But yeah, I want to move forward with that about where you are now and stuff. But I also want to say that like it's awesome to hear your story about hitchhiking and stuff, because it resonates with me. I spent about almost 4 years hitchhiking around the country.
Okay, in America.
I was in the U.S. and then I went up to Alaska, and then my buddy and I, we road tripped all the way down through Alaska, from the Yukon all the way down through BC and everything else. And I was also in Central America and Mexico and stuff. So I know exactly what you're saying about like, you meet people and there's this vulnerability between you, and you open up this rare type of presence that for both of you, and it's reciprocal. Like they're picking you up off the street, so they're kind of feeling just as uncertain about the situation as you are. And when you're both there and you open up, and it's like, okay, good people, and you immediately sense that conversations just explode, and emotions and dreams and fears and all that stuff. It's one of the few, and I tell people this all the time too. It's one of the few genuine positions you can be in to really connect with people.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people have the experience.
Not only that, it's vilified.
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
definitely.
And that's not to it's not to say it can't be dangerous for
Certainly.
for a lot of people. And man, there's a lot of beauty to it, and it's sad that it's vilified, and it's sad that it's illegal in a lot of places, and it's sad that it's somewhat dangerous at times for certain folks, and because it's such an enriching. I would never trade my hitchhiking experiences; they were beautiful, and I don't think you would either, right?
Not a chance. And I tell people that all the time. It colored who I am.
Yeah, same.
Before that, I was a different person.
Yeah. And it gave me courage I didn't realize I had.
Totally.
Because it's a leap of faith. And in this life, faith is like a requirement for happiness, because we don't know if any of our choices are going to be good choices. There's going to be a bunch of choices I'm going to make tomorrow. There's going to be a bunch of choices you make tomorrow. Some are going to be pretty good for us. Some probably aren't. Yeah. Yeah? You ever see that video, Everybody's Free to Wear Sunscreen?
No.
It's a really good little music video of just advice. And one of the pieces of advice is the writer says, you win some, you lose some. Your choices are half chance, so are everybody else's. And I'm like, yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, and that the topic of faith is such it's laden with just all kinds of negativity in this culture.
Because faith and religion are kind of synonymous.
Exactly, and you think of like the blind faith and believing in something that is a higher power than you and that's going to take care of you. Like that's. I don't believe that's what you're saying because I know that faith, and it's so important just to trust that it's going to work out.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it's just trust in people that people are going to be kind to you.
Yeah,
and that can be hard. It can be hard, especially when you grow up and people close to you weren't kind to you.
Yeah,
it can be really scary.
Yeah, and all the horror stories you hear.
Totally.
People ending up losing their kidneys or dead in a lake or something, which is true and valid, but. That's just part of it.
And it is part of it, isn't it? It's interesting to go like, well, I've got to believe that I'm going to be okay. And I was okay.
Yeah, so exactly. We're both here talking.
Yeah.
Both survived.
Yeah.
And I have a 5-year-old daughter, and it's, I would never deny her that experience, but I would also be very scared.
Sure. Both things exist, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And if she wanted it bad enough, my parents were not happy when I told them I was taking off.
Same.
So it goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, all that you're saying there really, it sets the stage for what you're doing now. Clearly, like your musical background, your creative background, your courage to go out and to open up to people, the vulnerability. So now here you are, you're in Asheville, and you're working with Awakening Harmony. And you created Awakening Harmony with at least one other individual.
Yeah, so my friend Josh Fox, he's an acupuncturist around here, and he started like changing his sessions. He started with needles, but he actually just liked to get into tune with people, and they'd say, "Hey, give me the needles," and he'd say, "Hold on, like, needles are just a tool. Let's find out really what's going on with you." He's a super creative, in tune guy. He's an amazing. He can just really feel what's going on with you, and he doesn't rush to get a solution for you so much as find out what's going on and any imbalance you may have created in yourself. And he uses music a lot in his practice. And he called me up and said, "Hey, I wanna do this little gathering thing, and I'd love you to come join me." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And we went, and we didn't know what we were doing. We were just both. I have a slant towards intimacy and personal growth, and Fox has a slant towards ceremony and like a type of emotional depth with people, and dance. He's a big fan of dance, and we just started going at it, and it was a wonderful time. There's about 35 people there. I was at a place called the Hostel in the Forest, and it was a wonderful experience. And I said, "Well, it was really nice." And then we did a little tour after that, stopping in places and doing like emotional concerts with everyone, playing songs, then asking everyone what's going on for them, and getting some intimacy type of games, And then later on, he said, "Hey, let's put some energy and really do this and figure out what we're doing." And I was becoming a life coach at the time, and so my interest was just getting more and more into personal growth, which to me is how can you use all the faculties you have as a human to really give your best self to your family, the world, and yourself. How can you live the best quality of life? And it's nice to have someone to talk about that with.
Definitely.
And it's nice to have someone who's like studied those shortcuts and say, hey, here's maybe a more effective way to schedule, or to see, oh, you're blocked emotionally. That's what that looks like, and here's how to get through it classically. So nice to have help. And so that was kind of my slant. And I said, Fox, let's get a little more personal growth going on. He said, cool. I really want to hone in more on ceremony. And Fox has been doing these grief ceremonies. And he's trained by some grief elders. There's one woman from Africa named Sabamfu Some, and this one elder named Lawrence Cole, this 75-year-old song leader who teaches about grief. And Fox really believed that it was important for people to get together and show each other grief. And grief is an emotion that comes up whenever you lose something. Okay? So when you lose something you love, your body kind of physiologically responds in grief. And Fox, after training, saw this grief come up in himself. And he said, whoa, I didn't realize I had this grief. And now that I've accessed this grief, I'm realizing how rich it is. It's teaching me things about myself. It's kind of like I spent so much energy repressing it that now that I'm not using the energy to repress it, there's access to all this other stuff. Yeah. And he thought one of the key ingredients to that, and he learned that one of the key ingredients to that is for people to witness each other's grief. And so he was like, we're doing grief ceremonies there. Let's get people close with music, with personal growth, with humor, with emotional development. Let's get them laughing and singing and getting deep. And then let's really get them to cry in front of each other. And I said, okay, I don't know how to do that last part. He said, I've been trained. I know how to do it. And I remember my first one. I didn't understand what was happening. There was 35 people bawling their eyes out. I didn't think he was going to get a single. I was confused. I was really confused. And since then, I've come to see that grief is one of our many natural and beautiful emotions, and that we're kind of an emotionally repressed society. The emotions that are okay are happy and productive and calm is good, and angry is okay for men but not for women, and busy is fine. Stressed out is a mark of a successful person. But for something like depression, we say you got to medicate depression, or anxiety, got to medicate anxiety. But in my view, the reality is everyone has anxiety. People are just either...
It's okay. I'll pause it.
Okay.
Finish what you're saying.
People are either anxiety aware, or they're in kind of a denial. They think something's wrong with them inherently. So, and then with depression, our world is in such a cultural upheaval. We're losing a lot of rainforests. There's a lot of poverty in the world. There's a lot of war. There's a lot of pollution. I can name issues forever. And if you're not depressed about that, if that doesn't bring up a profound sadness that zaps your energy, I think you should look at yourself a little bit and say, well, why am I blocking myself off to some of the suffering of this world? It's a really natural response to where we are globally. I mean, just in America, just Donald Trump getting elected is depressing. It's a sad thing. You know what I mean? Because you can like him, you can hate him, that's fine. But he's a billionaire who lies to people. Those are objective facts.
Yeah.
And that's a bummer. It's a sad thing.
It's a bummer indeed.
Yeah. And like it's okay to be sad about that. You don't need a pill for that. Nothing wrong with you. And so it's important to know that our emotions are beautiful things that are just informing our experience about the world. They're not things that are they're not bad or wrong, but in our society where productivity and money are valued more than anything else, they get in the way. Depression gets in the way of that. So these companies kind of come in and try and fix it with pills that end up making them more money. It's like a fulfilling system. And we have awakening harmonies to honor our emotions. They're really beautiful. They're great. And once you honor them, they stop cycling. An emotion that cycles over and over is just telling you, hey, you're not dealing with me. That's all an emotion is. Emotions go usually to 3 levels. They go to from imbalance to understanding to resolution. That's an emotion, you know? But if you're cycled in something, the emotion, it's increasing, saying, hey, pay attention to something. And emotions aren't like a logical math teacher. It's not like 7 plus 4 is 11. An emotion is subtle images and feelings pointing you in its own way towards some truth in yourself. So we encourage people to like get in there and listen, and we do it as a group because they're beautiful parts of being human, and it's cool to see someone have an emotional breakthrough. It is very powerful, and there isn't an Awakening Harmony where I don't have an emotional breakthrough, and I go, I've been struggling with that issue, but being around a bunch of other people going through it, it just inspires me to go into it deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we all came from childhoods that weren't ideal. You know,
Nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect, you know, and we probably felt certain ways and probably were shamed about feeling those ways, you know. Or as people said, hey, don't feel that way, or don't feel that way, or distract us. You know, you see a child crying, right? So maybe you take up Mr. Bunny and you say, oh, look at Mr. Bunny, don't cry, don't cry. But actually, this child doesn't learn any emotional fluency when you do that. And we don't learn emotional fluency with our distracted kind of culture, where when we feel kind of bored, I'm sure a lot of us jump to a phone, say, well, I'm bored, you know? But there's usually a lot of rich information if we just don't distract ourselves for a little bit. And so that's the nice thing with Awakening Harmony. It's stimulating enough there that we don't need to jump on a phone or do anything. We can just be with each other, and our process is interesting enough, you know?
Yeah, that sounds, it's a full-bodied kind of system with that. And I really like the idea of connecting on a level that is, you know, usually, like you said, like you're ashamed of crying, or you're ashamed of, you know, having this like rage or, you know, depression or whatever it is. But when you connect with people in a way and say that we all have this and we're going to show you, you know, and you open it up, it's such a, it's cathartic, you know, and anyone who's been around other people, I mean, it's even like watching a movie or something that has deep emotions in it and it's sad, and it stirs something in you, you know. And it's very basic. We mirror each other.
Definitely.
And deep emotions are so rarely seen.
They're rarely seen.
And that's the problem.
That's it. You walk down the street, how you doing? You don't look at the people. You interact with Starbucks workers or whatever, and they're just emotionless.
Morning.
You know? And they're told to be emotionless.
Yeah,
like,
of
hey,
course.
maybe they'll smile at you.
Yeah.
You know, but no one's going to say, hey, there's some pain in my heart, actually.
Yeah. Well, there's no place for it.
There's no place for it in our society.
Exactly. And that everybody who's anybody, if you live in a modern day culture, you're going to understand that, like, just walking out the door, you shut down.
Yeah.
You know, you zip up that screen or whatever it is to kind of like shield yourself from all this stuff. And then you meet other people who are all in their own bubbles. And that's, you know, like we were saying with traveling and stuff, you know, some of my most memorable experiences that were the most like liberating for me were meeting people with psychological issues, or drug addicts, or, you know, people who were living on the streets full time, you know, those kind of things where you get in real conversations and you touch real emotions, and it ignites it in you, and it, you know, you so rarely see that in a modern setting. So it's cool that you guys are setting up with, you know, an intention, bringing people together and having a safe place for that. And I want to talk about the creative aspect of it, because you're using music and you're using dancing and, you know, humor, I would imagine, just based upon who you are.
The thing, you know what, we thought about it, and we said, okay, how, given that I agree with you, you go out of your house and you zip up, you numb out, you put on your suit and you say, cool, this is my feeling proof suit, because I'm not gonna go out and feel, it's not acceptable out there. And we're like, okay, so how do we get the suit off of people? So one way we thought was, we always throw retreats in like a beautiful natural setting as much as we can. It seems to help.
Yeah.
The other thing is, we figured, how do we shake people up? And we figure, let's get them to laugh, and let's get them singing, because singing is going to vibrate them from the inside, and laughter is going to vibrate from them from the inside. And I'll tell you, it's there was actually, as a coach, I studied depression for a while, and I read a really cool study. It was a university study where they said they got half the people on antidepressant medication who said they were depressed, okay? And they got half the people to smile and laugh. And the smiling, laughing troop did better than the antidepressant medication. Yeah. And we thought, okay, how do we get these folks to just lighten up and crack so they can go to the dark places too, but it'll shake off that tight armor. And so we do a lot of movement, we do a lot of dance, we do a lot of yoga, we do a lot of walking, we do a lot of shaking. Anything we can just get them to loosen up a little bit. And then we're always watching, because there are some folks who come and they have just like an extra layer of armor on. And this has been like, we don't want to force. We don't want to force anybody, but we really go, okay, well, how do we really shake them? How can we really get this person to really laugh? How can we really get this person to really be seen? And with some folks, it's a really unexpected thing, and I just want to tell a quick story. At one of our Awakening Harmonies, Fox's his partner said, hey, I have an offering I want to offer. And what she offered was a shame circle, where everyone got together and talked about a part of their body they were ashamed of. And then they showed that part of their body to everyone, and everyone just beamed love and acceptance at it. Whoa. And for some folks who the laughter, they weren't laughing at our jokes, this kind of cracked them open. And it's an interesting thing to find what we can present that creates this idea that, hey, you're going to be accepted as you are. You're going to be loved as you are. And that's really what we're going for. How can we love and accept you as you are, as best you are? And then it gives you the freedom to just be yourself. And when you're actually yourself, you can look at yourself. And when you look at yourself, you can heal yourself. Because we're not like, I'm a coach, Fox acupuncturist, but we're not going to heal anybody. Yeah. Healing something like you do it yourself. You just it's helpful to have someone say, that's your wound. It's over there.
And then accept that wound.
Yeah. And ultimately, not even so much that's your wound, but you feel safe enough with me to say, hey, I'm going to look at myself and find my pain and then deal with it. Yeah. And then thrive. Like, how do I thrive? How do I be the best version of me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Well, if you're into it, I would be really happy to show one of these songs that you guys play there.
Let me give a little bit of a thing. So we sing a lot of songs that are easy to sing along with. And there's usually a big group of us singing, and the songs are, we try and find songs or write songs that are eternal messages of truth, that uplift you and kind of get to a vulnerable place in you and another person. And it's a very joyous thing to sing together. Again, we said before, there's not really a space in our culture for emotional sharing, and singing is one of the most emotional things you can do. And there's not really a space outside of organized religion and pay choirs to just sing with a group of people. And we believe it's just a fundamental human thing. It's funny, you're a musician. And it's funny, people are like, oh, you're a musician. Or, oh, they go to me, how long have you been playing guitar? You're really good. And I'm like, everyone's a musician. Yeah. Everyone can sing. Don't worry about it. I had this gig at a camp called Compassion Camp, where I was the music director there. And I said, hey, you all can sing. And one guy said, I can't sing. I said, yeah, you can. Some people might not like how it sounds, but you can sing. It's okay. Don't worry. And, a lot of people don't know, and I want to say this on the podcast too, like, I just want to say, if you're worried about your voice gets better with practice. Definitely. You didn't always sound as good as you do. Definitely. And I didn't always sound as good as I do. Like, takes a while, but keep at it. It's fun. Let me ask you, did you know how you sounded when you first started?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, it's pretty good, huh? I didn't know.
Yeah. It's unique for me because my first vocal experience, I was playing punk rock and metal music.
Oh, okay. Were you doing it?
I was screaming, and I did that for years through my high school, and it was very cathartic as a teenager screaming and playing heavy music.
I'm glad you found an outlet.
Yeah,
because it's really frustrating to be a teenager.
It totally
You're
was.
put someplace you don't want to be, which is school.
Exactly.
I haven't met a single teenager that's like, I love school. I want to be in school. Yeah. Maybe there are some. Usually the answer is, I don't like school. I'm very bored.
And you have to have something to get you through it, and that's what got me through it. But when I first started singing, and I wasn't even, I think I was 22 or something before I started like actually singing.
Putting a little melody in there.
Yeah, and like it was very, I was incredibly self-conscious about it, and I was very. I don't know. I want to say I was aware of how I sounded because I was too aware. You know, I was so worried, and you know what really changed it for me was, at the time I was traveling and I was hitchhiking, and I was like, I need to make money, and the best way to make money is to sing and play on the streets, because I was playing too, you know, and a friend actually bought me a banjo. That was the very first instrument that really encouraged me, and I just started wailing. I'd be on the street corner, you know, I'd get somewhere where it was loud so people couldn't really hear me too much, you know, but I would just belt it out until I finally found it in myself.
Good practice.
It was great practice.
Good practice. Because you got to belt it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And it'd be nice if more people had that opportunity to just go for it.
Yep.
Just go for it, you know?
That's it, having a container for it, and having you know, it's not even having like a reason or having a desire to sound good. I mean, everybody wants to sound good, obviously. You know, we're musical beings. Our bodies are musical instruments, and we all want to make something pleasing to the ears. But it's more release in that way. You know, to feel that is so special. I think we could try and get this music on. What do you think about that?
I think that's great. I'm going to play a song called Courage. And it's a song we usually play whenever we do these retreats. And all these songs are, you know, we try and get them to be heartfelt, eternal messages of truth. This wasn't written by me. It's one of my favorites, and I'm excited to jam it with you. Yeah. That's a nice thing. And for those of you who want to play at home, it's just D minor and C, the whole song.
Cool. And I'm gonna try and jam along with the banjo here, and we'll see what kind of levels we can get.
Yeah.
Live, improv, it'll be fun. You said D minor and C.
Yeah, I'll start off. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay. There we go.
Just want to make sure our levels are good.
Okay.
Go ahead and just strum real quick.
Cool. I wanna thank you for having the courage to be yourself. I wanna thank you for having the courage to be yourself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself. I wanna thank you for having the courage to be yourself. I wanna thank you for having the courage to be yourself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself. Can you sing it with me? You ready? I wanna thank you for having the courage to be yourself. I wanna thank you for having the courage to be yourself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself. 'Cause when you are yourself, It gives me the courage to be myself. 'Cause when you are yourself, it gives me the courage to be myself.
Nice.
Yeah. So easy to pick up.
Totally.
And a nice message.
Definitely.
You know? A nice message. And so we get the folks singing it, and then we get them to look at each other when they're singing it. And then we get them to walk around the room and look at other folks while they're singing it. And we get them to dance. And it's a little scary. Brings up a lot of vulnerability in people, just to put people in a bit of a singing spotlight, singing heartfelt messages to each other, looking each other in the eye. It's challenging and very connective.
Yeah.
So we don't push it. We encourage it always. It's always invitations. But we've noticed that these invitations really help people break through their barriers of feeling they're going to not be accepted, or that they're going to be judged. And that's really what it's all about, feeling accepted and loved as you are, so that you find the courage to face yourself. And then you find the inspiration to grow yourself.
Do you encourage other people to bring instruments? And,
Definitely.
And you have like kind of a big group jam?
Yeah.
Anyone that's got anything?
It's a big supportive party.
Nice.
You know, it's really nice. And every Saturday night we do something called the Passion Show, where we say, hey, the show is anything you want to present. Great.
At the retreat, you mean?
Yeah.
Every Saturday you do?
Every Saturday night.
Cool.
And whatever you're bringing is great. You know, and if you don't want to do anything, it's okay. But we say, hey, go for it. Go be seen. Be seen in who you are.
Do you think that has like a big connection with, you know, like you're saying with the grief and stuff like that? In order to connect with people, you do all these different things to open them up and to get to that vulnerability. I've always thought that when you engage authentically with people in a creative way, you know, you share a song together, like there's nothing quite like that level of acceptance. And I don't know, you know, there's permission, there's also there's appreciation, there's all these things that come along with it. And like you said, with making eye contact and stuff, it's part of it. Do you find that to be a rather like integral part of the process, you know?
Definitely. And we've got to bring our own vulnerability to it. And it's a weird hat to wear, to come as a facilitator and kind of step back from it a little bit, to go, okay, I'm going to help these people be comfortable, and now I'm kind of just going to be part of the group and share myself vulnerably, and then guide a vulnerable activity, and then step back. And if one of our the members of the group want to lead something, to encourage that, to go, okay, well, that's great. You're feeling like that's your role here. That's awesome. You know? Yeah. But it's always a challenge to wear that hat of, okay, I'm leading a retreat, and also to go, okay, I've got to share myself completely, fully. You know? Yeah.
Well, I think it's a really beautiful thing that you guys are doing. It's a cool medium, and I said this before. It's like, I don't know how we didn't know each other until this moment.
For real, eh? For real.
It's when I saw your work, you know, when I got turned on to it, I was just immediately, I was like, oh man, this is like basically what I'm trying to do on a different platform.
Yeah.
You know, with and you guys have a very unique approach to it, obviously, and it's got a structure and stuff. But that's kind of my dream, is just to use whatever I have at hand, my own thing, whether it's small, whether it's a handful of people listening, or what, you know, it's to be able to provide a space for people to either be inspired or to inspire others, you know, and to open up in that way. And
because that's the only way things are going to get better.
Totally.
We've got to we're coming from a very fear-based place right now. People are usually in reaction, so they get a job because they need to pay the bills, to get a house in order to, you know, send their kids to school so their kids are going to be okay. And they're coming from such a scared place. And coming from scarcity and coming from fear keeps us at like a low level of our potential, whereas coming from inspiration and connection gets us to a really high level. When we're acting out of love, we go, whoa, the human potential is incredible. When we're acting out of fear, it's actually really low. It keeps us really low because we're just trying to survive, and we don't trust each other.
Yeah.
You know.
Sad but true.
Yeah.
So you have a retreat coming up.
Yeah. So we've got a retreat February 15th to the 17th. It's called Awakening Harmony, a healing retreat. It's at the Hostel in the Forest.
Which is where?
The Hostel in the Forest is in Brunswick, Georgia. And it's about 6 hours south of Asheville, or pretty close to Atlanta. And it's a beautiful retreat. It's going to be 30 participants in total. Tickets are still available. And meals are provided. And it's going to be 2 nights and 3 days of heartfelt singing, connection activities, dance, ceremonies, a heart healing ceremony, authentic sharing, classes on emotional vulnerability and empowerment and personal growth, lots of music, some challenging improv musical activities as well, the passion show that I mentioned, and journal time for reflection, time to get away from your life a little bit and just reflect a bit on who you are, what life means to you, and how best you can grow in this world and how best you can give in this world. So we're excited to do it. We've been doing it now for 3 years.
Cool.
So this will be our 10th retreat. Could be our 9th retreat or so. And we're really excited for it.
That's awesome. Did you have anything locally that you do, a smaller thing, or any kind of other retreats in the Asheville area, or is it kind of all over the place?
So we have had a bunch of like day retreats and regular retreats, just like day-long events and stuff. And for all that information, you can go to our website. I'll just plug it now. It's awakeningharmony.com. And you can find us on Facebook at Awakening Harmony. And other than that, Fox runs an acupuncture practice called Fox Healing. And I am a life coach in Asheville. And you can find me at johnhandelman.com.
Cool. I'll have the links up in the show notes.
That's great.
Too,
Thank you.
So people can go to that. But awesome. I'm really glad that we got to have this conversation. And
yeah, I'm glad we got to jam too.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, any chance you want to play one more song?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you want to play one of yours, or you want me to lead one?
No, I want you to lead.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. No problem.
You got anything upbeat banjo-y?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The song's called Sweet Love.
Okay.
And it's really sweet and it's great on the banjo, and you'll be able to pick it up really fast.
Sounds
You ready?
good. Yeah.
Sweet love, do not play it small. The world depends on your greatness. Sweet love, do not play it small. The world depends on your greatness. Sweet love, do not play it small. The world depends on your greatness. Sweet love, do not play it small. The world depends on your greatness. Take it away. Sweet love, do not play it small. The world depends on your greatness. Sweet love, do not play it small. The world depends on your greatness. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And nice voice over there.
Oh, likewise, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's fun. I think I was maybe playing the wrong chords for the first
We
one.
can only hope.
It's all right. Yeah.
And that's part of it too. That's what we really encourage. Also, especially when we have some other people bring some instruments.
Yeah.
And they say, "Well, I might mess up." We say, "Mess up. It's
Yeah,
great.
totally.
Don't worry about it." Because there's this idea with failure that this is like the end of the world or something like this. And really, there's no failure. You're either going to get success, which is what you want, or you're going to learn something.
Totally.
So
it's one of those things where there's so much pressure as a musician, as an artist, and to perform well and to be, I don't know, idealized kind of view of what we should be. I should be better, and there's all these kind of things that go along with it. Even as a musician, even if somebody who's accomplished musician. So it's really beautiful to have that opening kind of circle and allowance for people just to come as you are, and it's going to be accepted, it's going to be loved, and it's going to be part of something greater. It's part of like a small piece of the whole. So yeah, thank you for bringing that and for providing the space for it. It's a really cool thing to know that's out there and that people are healing from it.
Yeah, for sure. It's been very enriching for us. It's very mutual.
Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, great. Yeah, John, I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Gathering lessons and falling morning rain. Catch them